Picture this. Someone knocks on your door. Sharp suit, big smile. They tell you they're throwing the greatest party the neighborhood has ever seen, right here on your block. It'll be on every TV on the planet. Billions of people watching. Your neighborhood globally famous for an entire month. You're in, obviously. Who wouldn't be? Then they hand you a contract. You pay for the security. You pay for the roads. You pay for the parking infrastructure. You pay for the cleanup. You cover every operational cost the party generates inside your zip code. And the guy in the sharp suit, he keeps the ticket money. He keeps the TV money. He keeps the sponsorship money. He keeps the parking fees, which in your city run $200 to $300 a space per event. You get the privilege of saying it happened here. And when you try to set up your own little table outside to sell something, anything, to recoup some of what you spent, his contract says no. Clean site policy. No unauthorized commercial activity within the event perimeter. That is not a hypothetical. That is the actual deal the United States of America just signed with FIFA to host the 2026 World Cup. And it is happening right now in 11 American cities, while most of the country is too busy watching the games to read the fine print on the agreement that made them possible. My name is Ryan, and I spend a genuinely unreasonable amount of time in the documents, the contracts, the budget footnotes, and the places where the real money story lives underneath the highlight reel. If you've ever cheered for something while quietly feeling like you were getting played, subscribe and hit that like button. Because today, we are cracking open the FIFA business model, the actual one, not the press release, the machine. And the first number is going to make you put down whatever you're drinking. Part 1. The $13 billion nobody is splitting with you. FIFA is on track to generate roughly $13 billion in total revenue during the 4-year commercial cycle that ends with the 2026 World Cup. $13 billion. Of that, approximately $8.9 billion comes directly from the 2026 tournament itself. Broadcasting rights, sponsorships from Coca-Cola, Adidas, and others, ticket sales, hospitality packages, licensing fees on every piece of merchandise with a World Cup logo. That $13 billion represents a 72% increase over the cycle that ended with Qatar 2022, which was itself a record. FIFA exceeded its Qatar forecasts by more than $1 billion. Some analysts now think 2026 could push $14 billion when the final numbers land. And here is the number on the other side of that ledger, the one that doesn't make the FIFA press releases. American taxpayers are contributing a broader $625 million investment to host this thing. That includes $65 million for Houston alone. Toronto's cost estimates rose from tens of millions to roughly $380 million in public spending for 13 games. Canada's parliamentary budget officer put total government support for hosting at approximately $1.066 billion Canadian dollars, which works out to around 82 million Canadian dollars per match. Per match. FIFA captures most of the central revenue, while host cities and governments bear costs linked to security, transport, stadium preparation, fan zones, public services, emergency planning, and local logistics. That sentence is doing a lot of quiet work. Let's slow it down. Broadcasting rights, FIFA. Sponsorships, FIFA. Ticket sales, FIFA. Parking fees of $200 to $300 per space per game inside American stadiums, FIFA. Police overtime, road closures, public transit surge costs, temporary infrastructure. That's yours. That's the city. That's the taxpayer. A ProPublica and Houston Chronicle review of the host city contracts found that almost all organizing costs fall on the cities, while their ability to collect revenue is sharply limited. One source familiar with the negotiations described the overall arrangement as the worst deal in history. That quote did not come from a critic outside the system. It came from inside it. Part 2. the nonprofit sitting on billions. Here is the part that requires a moment to absorb. FIFA is technically a non-profit organization. It does not pay dividends or distribute profits to shareholders because it doesn't have shareholders. It has member federations, 211 of them, one for each country in FIFA's universe, which is more countries than the United Nations recognizes. Non-profit does not mean no money. FIFA's financial reserves sat at $3.9 billion after Qatar 2022 and declined to $2.7 billion by the end of 2025, not because they were spending on soccer fields in developing nations, but because of operational costs in the gap between tournaments. The 2026 cycle is expected to rebuild and exceed those reserves significantly. The prize money pool for 2026 is $1.02 billion, split among 48 teams, weighted heavily towards the teams that advance. The champion takes home the biggest check. The first-round exits split the scraps. Meanwhile, FIFA collects $8.9 billion from the tournament those same teams are playing in. For context, the 1994 World Cup, the last time the United States hosted, generated under $1 billion in total. The 2026 World Cup is expected to generate nearly 10 times that. The game got bigger. The deal the host cities get didn't scale with it. Part 3. The economic boom that FIFA and local boosters will tell you, and it is not entirely wrong. The 2026 World Cup is expected to create approximately 185,000 jobs and generate enormous tourism revenue across the 11 American host cities. FIFA's own socioeconomic impact analysis, published March 2025, projects a significant positive effect on local economies. The tournament is expected to draw millions of international visitors, and the average cost for an American fan attending just to be there, including ticket, travel, lodging, and meals, runs from roughly $3,300 in Seattle to $7,589 in Boston. Multiply that across millions of people, and the numbers look impressive on a slide deck. Here is what economists keep quietly noting underneath those numbers. The boost is real, but temporary. The jobs are overwhelmingly short-term. Many of the visitors who flood a host city displace the regular tourists who would have come anyway. Locals who can't get tickets and can't afford surge-priced hotels often leave, reducing normal economic activity while the event runs. Economists have long argued that such estimates can overstate the overall impact by overlooking displacement effects. That is not a fringe position. It is the mainstream economic literature on mega events going back 2 decades. The host gets a month of spectacle and years of infrastructure debt. Brazil spent somewhere north of $15 billion hosting the 2014 World Cup. Multiple stadiums built for that tournament have been used for almost nothing since. One famously became a parking lot. Qatar spent an estimated $220 billion, a number so large it still doesn't feel real, and built facilities in a desert country where the climate makes outdoor soccer essentially impossible without artificial cooling for 11 months of the year. The 2026 World Cup is structurally different. The stadiums are mostly existing NFL venues. The United States is not building white elephants. The infrastructure argument that destroyed Brazil and embarrassed Qatar is largely absent here. But the contract structure, the one where FIFA takes the revenue and the cities absorb the operational costs, is identical. The venue's smarter. The deal is the same. Part 4. The thing that should bother you right now. Here's the part that lands differently when you're an American watching this happen in your own backyard this summer. Those 11 American host cities, Atlanta, Boston, Dallas, Houston, Kansas City, Los Angeles, Miami, New York, Philadelphia, San Francisco, Seattle, are spending public money right now, money that comes from taxes, from the general fund, from budgets that also covers schools and roads and public safety on the other 364 days of the year. And the entity they are spending it to serve is headquartered in Zurich, Switzerland, is collecting $8.9 billion from a tournament played on American soil, is keeping the ticket revenue from games played in American stadiums built with American money, and gave the host cities a deal that one insider already called the worst in history before the opening whistle even blew. Broadcasting deals, sponsorships from Coca-Cola and Qatar Airways, concessions inside stadiums, parking fees which can run $200 to $300 per space per game in America, and most importantly, all ticket revenue, that goes to FIFA. Foxborough, Massachusetts had to raise $7.8 million just for public safety costs at Gillette Stadium. $7.8 million for one venue, for safety, not for profit, not for legacy, just to keep people safe at an event FIFA is collecting billions from. There is also widespread frustration from cities who were led to believe FIFA's primary tournament sponsors would be making direct investments in host cities. That investment, as of the tournament's opening, had not materialized in any meaningful way. FIFA could have created a national revenue sharing package. It did not. FIFA could have subsidized host city operational costs from its record $13 billion haul. It did not. FIFA could have designed a model where the cities that make the spectacle physically possible got something beyond tourism foot traffic and a few weeks of global attention. It did not. The actual point. The World Cup is genuinely extraordinary. The soccer is real. The emotion is real. The experience of watching your city become the center of the planet for a few weeks is real, and it is not nothing. But the deal underneath the spectacle is a masterclass in how a private organization extracts maximum value from public infrastructure, public money, and public enthusiasm, while distributing just enough of the upside to keep the hosts signing the contract. FIFA did not invent this model. The Olympics runs the same playbook. The Super Bowl runs a softer version. The pattern is consistent. The event needs a city more than any one city needs the event. The leverage sits with whoever controls the brand. And the brand in this case is worth $13 billion. The 2026 World Cup is happening right now on American soil. The games are real. The costs are real. The revenue is real. The only question is who ends up holding which side of that equation when the final whistle blows in New Jersey in July. You already know the answer. It was in the contract before any of us bought a ticket. If this cracked open the part of the story the broadcast coverage doesn't have time to get to, subscribe, because next we are going inside the sports financing structure that makes the FIFA model look restrained, and it involves a stadium near you that your city is still paying for 30 years later. I'll see you in that one.